The weather is killing people in the Northeast. And here in Nashville, a 21-year-old man winds up on the wrong end of the gun he allegedly pulled first. Details coming up at 10 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you, Ken Weaver, the best newsman in the business.
Checks in the mail.
My name's Chris Hand. It is 9:57 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Keep up with me off the air. The number for the Super Text line, you already know it, 615-737-9986. My socials, Instagram, Twitter, Chris Hand on air. That is my real last name, not a stage name, I promise you. Over the weekend, I was in West Palm Beach. Do you know what my favorite part of the weekend was, Mac?
Oh, gosh, what was it?
I got to meet the Pillow Man.
The Pillow Man?
Mike Lindell, baby. I met him, and he was awesome. And you know what he did for me?
What?
So my wife, she doesn't want any more My Pillows, but I want one with a little bit more filling. I do. I swear to you. This is not a commercial either. Like I love my Pillow. And then my son loves my Pillow, so he'll take my Pillow, and it's not his. It's not his My Pillow. It's my Pillow.
My Pillow.
So I'm talking to the Pillow Man, and I said to him, I said, you need to record a video for my wife, so that way I can get some more pillows. And you know what Mike Lindell did for me?
No way.
Virginia, let Chris get more pillows. What's up with that? Hello, huh?
That is awesome.
Oh my gosh! Like I met Tucker Carlson, but the Pillow Man doing that for me.
I mean, come on.
Dude, I was floating on air. I was floating on I was on the Giza Dream Sheets, baby. I swear to you. I was so happy.
That is peak. Oh, that is awesome, man.
The video's
That's
even
so cool.
better. You can watch it on my Instagram. The reel is up at Chris Hand on air. And keep those super texts coming, baby. 615-737-9986. This is Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Ten o'clock on the dot this Monday morning. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Got poor air quality, and we're under risk of severe weather today. Full forecast in 2 minutes. Weather's killing people in Pennsylvania. 5 fatalities since torrential rain turned roads into rivers just outside Philly. The fire chief in Makefield says the search continues for 2 young children who vanished as their family tried to escape the flood.
We have basically tripled the number of assets in the area, mostly because of the weather conditions.
Right across the border in New Jersey, a state of emergency declared in response to flooding and landslides in Warren County. And right now in Nashville, a 21-year-old man faces statutory rape charges after getting caught having sex with a 13-year-old girl in Antioch. Police say Jose Delgado Campos allegedly pulled a handgun on the girl's grandfather, but the grandfather wrestled away the gun and held Campos at gunpoint until police arrived. Channel 4 says Campos and the 13-year-old girl first met on Instagram and started having sex in June. Russia says it's canceling the Ukraine grain deal, which is pushing global food prices higher today. Wheat prices shooting up 3.5% overnight. James Longman says the Kremlin's announcement comes after a key bridge supplying Russian troops was blown up.
2 people are dead in an attack on the bridge that links Russia to the occupied Crimean Peninsula. The highway on the bridge has now split in 2, with much of it sloping down towards the water. It has stopped traffic on both sides, although the railway is still working. A husband and wife were reported killed, and there is a child who is injured and in the hospital.
And back here in Nashville, a leading state lawmaker on education is responding to Metro Police Chief John Drake's decision to not apply for money the state has made available to put an SRO in every elementary school. Chief John Drake says he doesn't have enough police officers to staff every elementary school in Nashville because he says he needs those officers patrolling the city. That's the latest news. Weather's next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
10:04, the Chris Hand Show on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. The number to text in and call, 615-737-9986. Phone lines open, text rolling in. I just got a text that made me belly laugh from 4931. He said, you might as well be waterboarding DeSantis right now. I don't want to waterboard anybody, and I do want to give Ron the opportunity to win me back over. I will change my mind should new information present itself. I promise you. Also, a lot of people ask me if I'm on Twitter or Instagram. I sure am. At Chris Hand on Air. At Chris Hand on Air on Instagram and Twitter. Thank you for being here today. I am so excited to be doing my first show with you. And I'm also so excited to be able to call out people that I've wanted to call out for a long time. One of those people is Jen Psaki. I know she's no longer the press secretary, and I know you may not know this, but actually you probably don't know this because nobody watches the network, but she has a show on MSNBC. It's a lousy show, I promise you. Yeah, dude. That's her audience. So anyway, nobody would know this story if I didn't bring it up, but I have to. Moms for Liberty is still in the left's crosshair. And I remind you, when the left zones in and targets you, it's because you're doing something right. So over the weekend, old circle back herself, Jen Psaki, caught my attention. I came across this clip on Twitter of her show on MSDNC. I really didn't know she had a show. And as painful as it was, I had to just watch and kind of figure out how she was going to smear Moms for Liberty. That's really what caught my eye. It wasn't Jen Psaki's name. It was Moms for Liberty. I love those ladies. Like, don't mess with moms. Don't mess with liberty. It's a pretty easy recipe for success. So Jen Psaki just takes aim at them. As vicious as you could imagine Jen Psaki could be.
Since the height of the COVID pandemic, schools, teachers, and administrators have all become the target of right-wing anger.
Okay, cool. All right. I like that. I mean, it sounds about right. Shouldn't they be kind of warranted? I mean, she starts off strong. Before even naming Moms for Liberty, she makes sure to drop the right-wing anger bit. What's the over-under, you think, before she uses the word extremism?
First, it was the restrictions to their reaction to COVID restrictions.
Yeah, weird. We reacted poorly to our kids being masked and forced into Zoom classes and locked down. I mean, what a shocker.
Which then morphed into outrage over the teaching of race and identity and outrage over CRT, critical race theory.
Well, that's a new one. She's flat out admitting now that they're teaching critical race theory. Didn't that used to be some alt-right QAnon conspiracy theory? Is that still a thing? Do people still QAnon? I guess not anymore. Now they're in the open about teaching critical race theory. And, that's all right. Shine some light on it.
Which rapidly turned our education system into the front line of the right's ongoing culture war.
Oh, it's the rights culture war now. First time I heard that one. So I thought to myself, excuse me? The rights culture war. I don't recall the right having a problem with schools until the communist left infiltrated and radically began changing the culture around kids without informing us parents. And seems odd that it's now the rights culture war. But hey, if that's the cross that we have to carry on the right, that's fine. We'll fight a culture war. That's cool.
That anger no doubt sparked the rise of organizations now focused on taking over school boards, pulling books from the shelves, and changing curriculums in schools across the country.
Oh, okay. So the anger led to taking over school boards and pulling books from the shelves and changing the curriculum. Am I following that? It's kind of weird how she leaves out the part that the anger and subsequent changes were in response to the under-the-radar infiltration of radical ideology from the left and, pornographic children books like Genderqueer that have just straight-up pornography and illustrated sex acts and filth and smut on the pages meant for grade schoolers. Even when mainstream retailers like Amazon suggest that book is for audiences 18 and up. Or, Like when the left started teaching kindergartners that they can be any gender they want, and that was somehow normal and loving and caring and oh so progressive.
In fact, according to a 2022 report from a nonprofit that tracks censorship in America, 70% of those organizations were formed in about an 18-month period, beginning at the start of 2021.
Oh, so it started right around the same time parents stopped being asleep at the wheel, thanks to those Zoom classes. Right around the same time that these radical teachers basically outed themselves. It's so weird how that correlates. Huh. You don't say, circle back.
Among the largest of these new groups, which you may have heard of, is Moms for Liberty. And it's recently become something of a political powerhouse.
And Moms for Liberty should be a political powerhouse. When you Google Moms for Liberty, and I suggest you do, you can see the propaganda on full display because your top search results are NPR, Moms for Liberty, named extremist by Civil Rights Watchdog. The Wikipedia group for Moms for Liberty mentioning LGBT rights and race and ethnicity. Or The Hill, 6 reasons why Moms for Liberty is an extremist group. Or PBS, far-right group Moms for Liberty poised to clash. And, of course, circle back Jen Psaki herself from MSNBC revealing what Moms for Liberty is all about. And then GLAAD, Moms for Liberty, their little blurb on Moms for Liberty. So it isn't until about 4/5 down that first search page that you can even get past the propaganda on Moms for Liberty to find, just normal things that you would think would pop up on the top of a Google search, like their Twitter or their website. And that says a lot to me. The left views this group as a total threat. And honestly, they should. When COVID-19 spread across the country, it was Moms for Liberty and what they found in the education of American children that was not just lacking, but was actually damaging and harmful to kids. They called out the critical race theory and the gender ideology and social emotional learning. They found and horned in on the territory that should have been reserved for academics, which was what the left was doing. And the simple fact that they even began to notice just terrifies the left. Notice how Jen Psaki goes into full propaganda smear on this group.
As benign as Moms for Liberty may sound, its agenda is unmistakably extreme. For instance, you may not know that Moms for Liberty has been helping to lead the movement in pulling books from the library shelves, including classics like The Bluest Eye, great book, The Kite Runner, amazing book, and Mouse, as well as other books that deal with race, diversity, and sexuality.
Again, she just glosses over books like Genderqueer or White Fragility. But even the ones that she mentions, like The Kite Runner, well, that was removed from school libraries because of included age inappropriate material, sexually explicit content, and offensive language. Do you want that in your kid's school? This book wasn't burned. This book is available in stores, and you are welcome to purchase it at any time for your children should you wish. I hope you don't. I don't think a good parent would, but she doesn't go on to say that. She wants your tax dollars to put that in your kids' libraries. I just, when the left does this kind of stuff, it's hard to not justify pulling your kids out of public schools. And they will smear them over and over and over again.
The group has turned school board meetings into unruly shouting matches. As an attendee at one Florida meeting described, quote, "They turn around and scream at me that I am a commie and teachers want to see all kids fail. This group brings out the worst in people."
They called me a commie. If it quacks like a duck and walks like a duck, it's probably communist. So this group, if this group yells and shouts because they're angry for what the school boards allow innocent kids to be exposed to, like, I don't know, pornography or gender ideology or lessons about why their skin color's bad, I don't think they're bringing out the worst in people. No, I think they're merely exposing themselves for the terrible people And the Moms for Liberty is exposing the terrible people already lurking there. They're just shining the light on what these people wanted to keep doing in the dark. And you know what? I'm okay for that. I'm okay with that. I will buy Moms for Liberty more flashlights so they can shine more light on what the left is doing in our schools.
The group says this work, all of this shouting, is the work of joyful warriors, is what they call it. Sounds a lot more to me like pretty aggressive harassment.
Oh, pretty aggressive harassment. It actually just sounds like, the work of loving and caring and involved parents. Finally, parents are getting more involved because before that, they were asleep at the wheel. And that's how the left crept in. Aggressive harassment. Jeez Louise.
And that behavior is not isolated. It's part of a bigger pattern. Chapters and members across the country have led campaigns targeting community advocates, school board members, and opposing groups.
Targeting them, you say? For what? Oh, they're school board seats. The next school board election. Notice how she leaves that part out. Moms for Liberty hasn't gotten violent with anyone. Angry? Perhaps. And perhaps rightfully so. But it's what Jen Psaki doesn't say there, the tone of her voice to sound like she's just so loving and caring. She's just the good person in this. And Moms for Liberty, it's just so terrifying and evil. I'm not buying it. I hope that you're not buying it either. When groups are attacked in the media, remember, it's because they're doing something right. When the left calls you names, it's because you're doing the right thing. They'll slander you all they can because they know that you're right.
They've repeatedly sent intimidating messages, openly threatened officials, and even baselessly leveled charges of child abuse and sympathizing with pedophilia.
All right. Baseless charges of child abuse and sympathizing with pedophilia. Well, provide the examples then, Jen. If you're going to go on your show on cable news, put the examples out there. Where are the receipts? Because I'm sure if we went to Moms for Liberty and asked for examples of those accusations, they would gladly provide them. But Jen and the left can't. They don't have receipts. They simply won't have receipts. They'll just use all the buzzwords to make the group sound extreme. Also baseless. I mean, we know what types of books are being pushed in the public school system. All you have to do is a little bit of tiny internet research. It is abuse. It's blatant grooming. And honestly, you could absolutely make the argument that this is a slippery slope to sympathizing with pedophilia. You could. I don't think that's out of bounds to say.
Unbelievably, an Indiana chapter even put out a newsletter that quoted Adolf Hitler, saying, quote, "He alone who owns the youth gains the future." That is a Hitler quote.
Uh-oh.
And while they eventually apologized, the organization seemed to later regret that apology.
There's always a reason why something happens, right? Yes. One of our moms in a newsletter quotes Hitler. Woo! I stand with that mom.
Oh my gosh, you guys! They quoted Hitler! Can you believe it? Notice she gives no context. Yes, there was a Hitler quote, but it was used to describe what the left is doing. I mean, was saying that the side was saying that the left, what they're doing is similar to that Hitler quote. Is it in poor taste? Perhaps. Out of context, it sounds bad, sure. But I've seen that newsletter she's talking about. And I could see what Moms for Liberty was going for, at least that mom in Indiana. And to me, to my untrained eye, it sure looked like they were attributing it to the left. And that's what the left is doing, controlling the youth.
Standing by a mom who quotes Hitler in a newsletter. People cheering for that. That's what you just saw.
Oh, they stood by her. Then they cheered. Jeez Louise. Again, this is what the left does. They bend and they twist everything. They will never give you the context. They want you to liken the group to Nazis. So they would choose to omit the quote is directed at what the left is doing. But You know that. I don't think you're stupid or blind to their tactics, but Jen Psaki, she thinks you are downright dumb. Actually, all of the left thinks that we're dumb. They think that this word twisting will get them exactly what they want.
And as for their claim that they are just a group of concerned, nonpartisan moms who happen to care about liberty, consider this. One of the founders, whose name is notably omitted from its website, is a current Republican school board member who is married to the now chairman of the Florida Republican Party. In 2021, he told the Washington Post, quote, "I have been trying for a dozen years to get 20 and 30-year-old females involved with the Republican Party. But now Moms for Liberty has done it for me." Sounds pretty apolitical.
Oh my gosh, what a shocker. The left wants to confuse your children about basic biology and lead them to castration, and the right doesn't. Are we supposed to be shocked that most Moms for Liberty members are Republicans? Are we? Is that shocking? And I'll add, Moms for Liberty didn't push 20 to 30-year-old women to the Republican Party. The Democrats did that. You know, over and over with every radical idea they push on our children without their parents' consent or knowledge. Yeah, that was their side, not ours. I mean, we'll welcome them in, but we didn't lead them to that.
So below the surface of their sending friendly-sounding name and politically vague taglines, they are an unapologetically extreme organization that has built a long record of harassment and controversy in a pretty short period of time.
Oh, extremism and controversy. Chen, what are we going to do about this crazy ragtag group of radicals? These crazy radical women. They don't think that men can have babies. Gee whiz. Wouldn't want to run into them in a dark alley. Yikes.
Some free advice out there for people who are not sure what their organization is about, whether it's called Moms for Liberty or Puppies for Ice Cream. It's worth looking into the agenda of an organization before joining it. Sometimes it may not be what you think.
Fair enough. Look into the organization before you join it, because if you listen to leftist talking head propaganda, you will definitely have the wrong idea. Also, Puppies for Ice Cream, Mac. See if that website's available. It's 10:22 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Well, the death toll, unfortunately, climbing in the Northeast from some killer weather. We'll tell you about it at 10:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you, Ken Weaver. Hey, Mac. If you were a betting man, which Biden admin official do you think would be making headlines for allegedly eating psychedelic mushrooms?
Oh, wow. That's actually tougher than I thought. There's a few of them that maybe that would fall under. I don't know. I don't have a great guess.
All right. Give me your top three then.
Who's that? I don't know. Who's that? Like weird? Well, they're all weird. I don't know. This is tough. I don't know. You're gonna have to tell me, Chris.
All right. Well, I'm gonna give you three and then you guess.
Okay.
All right. John Kirby, Kamala Harris, Janet Yellen.
I'm gonna go Kamala.
That's a great guess.
Just so I can play that.
I may have to ban the Kamala laugh track on my show because every time that Kamala laughs, a puppy dies.
Oh.
You didn't know that? Oh, dude, you did it again.
Oh.
We're gonna have to make a donation to Pause now. All right, it was Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen.
Hey.
Allegedly, this is the rumor. She went to China and ate some magic mushrooms. Old 75-year-old Janet Yellen herself. I mean, you thought Cocaine Gate was awesome, but Janet Yellen on mushrooms, that's like kicking things up a notch.
That's next level.
And it also opens up the possibility, was the cocaine Janet Yellen's? The world may never know.
You do have to ask the question now.
It very well could have been. There was no cameras. That's the way Janet Yellen likes it. Could you imagine her? Could you imagine her sitting in a room with like black lights and like those old neon posters?
Oh, 100%.
Just talking to herself.
Pink Floyd in the back. Yeah.
Dark Side of the Moon.
Yeah, exactly. That's it.
Just bowing to the Chinese. Classic.
Bingo.
Yep. According to the New York Post, Janet Yellen allegedly dined on psychedelic mushrooms in China before she bowed to the Chinese. Yellen, 76, gobbled 4 portions of Jian Shou King, a type of wild mushroom, when she dropped in at a casual Beijing restaurant soon after she arrived, and the Chinese praised her chopstick skills. But the funky fungi are known. These funky fungi are known in their native province for their unpredictable psychedelic effects. So, do you think that there were like members of the Chinese sitting there, like just like trying not to say anything?
They should have dragged out one of those big dragons.
Oh my God. She was seeing dragons.
Oh my gosh.
She was seeing dragons.
Oh.
Ken's not going to be able to get through the news now because he's going to be thinking about Janet Yellen just tripping out. All right. Time for the news. 10:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
$10:30 on the dot this Monday morning. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. We have poor air quality and we're under risk of severe weather. Full forecast in 2 minutes. The death toll now stands at 5 in Pennsylvania flooding, and the search has now resumed for 2 children swept away just outside of Philadelphia. And across the border in New Jersey, Governor Phil Murphy touring landslide damage in Warren County.
We've got our Department of Transportation, which is already in here cleaning up debris. We got roads out, bridges out that are going to take a lot of effort and time.
Right now in Nashville, police say a 21-year-old man wound up on the wrong side of a gun. He pulled first. Jose Delgado Campos allegedly pulled a gun on a 13-year-old girl's grandfather, whom authorities say caught Campos allegedly having sex with in his home. Channel 4 says the gun was wrestled away and Campos was held at gunpoint until police arrived, took him into custody for statutory rape. That's the latest news. Weather is next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
Hey folks, I'm Paul Winkler. One of the biggest decisions people have to make in retirement is how to take Social Security. You'll get all kinds of workshops about that, and you'll see all kinds of things about that particular topic. Because Social Security, for some people, it might be a third or even more of their income in retirement. So you want to get this decision right. Well, how do you make the decision? Well, one of the things we look at, there are programs we use. This is one of the simpler programs that we use right here. And I want to just show you how it works and how it actually unravels some of the misconceptions we have about Social Security. So we have two people here, they're age 60, and they're looking at filing for Social Security. One person has a retirement benefit of $2,500. That is their main benefit from Social Security at their full retirement age. The other one has a $500 benefit. And what we can do here, which is kind of cool, is look at this and say, okay, well, what if we have this person has that life expectancy and that person has that life expectancy there? And then what we do is we assume a certain cost of living increase in Social Security. What would be the optimal for taking the benefit where they get the most benefit or the most bang from their buck? And where we see the star, that shows that we would have the best benefit. Now, this is one person filing at age 67, the other person at age 70. Well, a lot of people think, well, I retire, I have to take Social Security at the same time that I retire, and that's not necessarily the case. As you can see here, one may take it at one age and one may take it at another, even though they're the same age right now. Now, the other thing we can do is say, well, what if I took it early? What if I took it at this particular age right here, where one person's 65 and the other one's 65? You can actually see how much it could cost in benefits. When we do this, we can see how much it might cost us and how much it might affect us negatively to do that. Now, the other thing we can do is we can play around the life expectancies, and we say, well, if this person lives to that age, now the cost is $187,000 in this particular example, taking it at that age right there. So you can see, based on your own life expectancy, and typically people will say, well, what did my parents live to, and come up with that type of data. So this is just part of the financial planning process that we use at Paul Winkler Inc. If you want to know more about what we do, you can get a free 15-minute phone call at our website, paulwinkler.com. We do financial planning, full financial planning. We do investing, education, and investing. We actually help people through those decisions, helping them set up their 401ks and those types of decisions, as well as risk management. But we don't get paid on commission. That's what makes us so different from other firms out there that do what we do. So if you want to find out more, go to paulwinkler.com.
I am tired of dealing with the smoke from Canada. Just too much, man. Super Talk 99.7 WTN. It's 10:36, 84 degrees outside, even though you have a clock and a thermometer in your car. My name is Chris Hand. Thank you for joining me on the Chris Hand Show. I'm having a tough time dealing with the fact that Tucker Carlson is out there and he's talking to our politicians and asking them what they would do about Ukraine and then, giving them all the answers of what they should do with Ukraine. We've all heard this. It's gone viral with Mike Pence. Oop, there you go.
You are distressed that the Ukrainians don't have enough American tanks. Every city in the United States has become much worse over the past 3 years. Yeah. Drive around. There's not one city that's gotten better in the United States. And it's visible. Our economy has degraded. The suicide rate has jumped. Public filth and disorder and crime have exponentially increased. And yet your concern is that the Ukrainians, a country most people can't find on a map, who've received tens of billions of U.S. tax dollars, don't have enough tanks. I think it's a fair question to ask, where's the concern for the United States in that?
Well, it's not my concern. Tucker, I've heard that routine from you before, but that's not my concern.
And just like that, Mike Pence's political career was over. Whether it was taken out of context or not, it really doesn't matter. I mean, that's what went viral, and he's done. Not that he had much of a career left after everything else that went down. But Pence wasn't the only one that Tucker went at. He also had this exchange with Tim Scott.
The Third World War very quickly, so why not force a peace?
How would you do that?
Did you hear that? Why not force a peace? And Tim Scott, who's running for president, said, how would you do that to an unemployed TV host? How would you do that? Gee, I don't know, Tim. I'm not running for president.
How would you do that?
Well, you could tell Ukraine, and they are a client state of the United States. Without American backing, there's kind of no Ukraine. We're literally paying the salaries of their bureaucrats.
Amen.
We want you to sit down, as they tried to do, but were stopped by our government, and stop this war. Yeah. And reach a peace as one does, where both sides, concede some of their interests. Why wouldn't that be in our interest to do that?
Why wouldn't that be in our interest to do that? I don't know. Just military-industrial complex things, I guess.
I think the faster we get to peace, the better off we are. What we don't want to do, from my perspective, is allow ourselves to ask for a premature peace that cannot be achieved as the alliances continue to come together.
We don't want to ask for premature peace? Is peace ever premature? It's a weird answer, Tim Scott.
To the extent that we can find our path out of this situation, the better off we are.
So what's the point at which we'll know that we've achieved our goal? And I say that within the context of having watched 20 years of occupation in Afghanistan, where nobody could answer the question, what's the point? Yes. And no one in Congress ever asked that question, amazingly. So what is the specific goal here?
Yes, what is the specific goal, Tim Scott? I'm sure that he's going to give a well-thought-out answer to Tucker Carlson. Don't you agree?
Yeah, so I would say that the objective should be for Zelensky and Ukraine to be able to achieve victory by maintaining as much of their territory as they possibly can, and then seeing the resources that we've deployed, along with our Western alliances, achieving the peace that I believe comes when you get these two folks to sit down and have a conversation that allows them to determine where those lines will be drawn for the next 100 years.
What a non-answer that is. Is that just me? I mean, come on, guys. How could they not go into this sit-down interview with Tucker Carlson of all people, knowing that they're going to get these views online, probably massive numbers. I mean, with the numbers that he's doing on his Twitter show, as a presidential candidate, right? You're running for president. You're going to get eyeballs on this. This is a huge opportunity. This is a huge issue, and you're woefully unprepared. Woefully unprepared. It's embarrassing, guys. It really is. Tucker had a great line when he was at ActCon over the weekend in West Palm Beach. I saw this speech live, and I was floored by how well-spoken Tucker Carlson is. This is how he explained the Ukraine situation.
And I thought, I've never been a diplomat. I'm the father of many children. And I don't have a PhD in leadership, but I know what parental leadership looks like, paternal leadership looks like. And if two of your kids are in a brawl, maybe you think one's right and the other's wrong, but it doesn't matter. What do you say? Beat the crap out of him, he's wrong! No. You say, Dad's home, knock it off.
Amen.
And the first thing you do, because you are in charge, not the children, you're in charge, you're dad. The first thing you do is you stop the fighting.
Absolutely.
And then you take him into separate rooms and you administer whatever lesson or justice you think necessary. But they're not allowed to fight with each other because you're home. Because you're leading your family.
Thank you.
And there may be a way in which international leadership is totally different than managing a house of 4 kids and 4 dogs, but I don't know what that way is. If you're the leader, the last thing you do is sow more chaos.
Absolutely.
You stop the chaos.
Thank you.
Leadership is bringing order and regularity and predictability to a chaotic scene. Wait till your dad gets home. What, dad shows up drunk and is like, keep hitting him. Bad dad. A man, in fact, unworthy of the name dad. That's not leadership. It's an abdication of leadership. It's a perversion of leadership, and it's disgusting. And that is exactly what, in the name of American leadership, this administration, with the full participation of the Republican Party, is foisting on the world. And it's insane. And I thought, I'm not.
It is insane. And it needs to stop. It should have never started to begin with. Yet here we are, just handing over more weapons, running out of artillery. We're running out of artillery left and right. Don't worry, though, as we're running out of our artillery and giving them cluster bombs to go fight Russia. Joe Biden wants you to know that Ukraine is satisfied with this.
What we need most of all is artillery shells. And we're in short supply. We're working on that. And so he seems very satisfied with everything we're doing.
Yeah, I'm sure they're satisfied when we're lining their pockets with billions of dollars that we're not being able to trace at all. We don't know where this money's going, and then we have accounting errors. We're trillions of dollars in debt, and we have accounting errors where we're accidentally giving them billions more for a war that, honestly, Ukraine will never win. I told my daughter when this thing started, she was in school, because it's been going on since the school year. We're in the middle of summer. It's been going on for a long time now. And she said to me, Dad, all the kids are talking. Everybody's talking at school, and I need to know, whose side are we on? You may have heard me tell this story once or twice before, but it's a good story. I'll tell it again. She said, Dad, whose side are we on? Russia or Ukraine? I said, Kennedy, you know what? I'm going to tell it to you as simply as I can. Two things. One, war is hell. Okay? Nobody wins in war. And two, when the Republicans and Democrats agree on something, run. Run as fast as you can, as quickly as you can, get as far away from it as you can, because it's a bad idea. These two groups agree on nothing, but when it comes to Iraq or Afghanistan or got to go get them WMDs, everybody's on the same page all of a sudden because, we got defense contracts. It's insane. It's absolutely insane. And now we're going to send 3,000 U.S. troops into Europe? But do they want World War III? Like, is that the game plan for the Biden administration? Are they going to suspend elections like Zelensky did? I mean, that's the guy that we're supporting. The guy, for democracy, right? The guy that suspends elections, arrests priests, and has actual Nazis, the Azov battalion in his ranks. Those are the guys that we're going to send billions of dollars in defense money to, and weapons and aid and training. I'm not saying Russia's the good guy, but I saw a funny quote online. It said, it's amazing how in the entire history of the world, the good guys have won every war. Weird. I don't think anybody wins in war. And we certainly aren't winning. We're out of weapons. We're out of artillery. Like, what? We're the United States of America and we're running out of artillery? Insane. John Kirby says we're gonna ramp up the production, so don't worry.
Let's start there with Grady's report. You saw the analysis that several key munitions could take years for us to handle the backlog. The president says this is a problem. So where are we? Have we activated the Defense Production Act? How are we solving this problem?
We're working very closely with the defense industry to try to ramp up production, particularly for artillery shells. You saw that we gave some cluster munitions to Ukraine as a bridging solution here while we ramp up production. We're having very, very strong conversations with the defense industry, and we believe that we'll be able to get there. But there is going to have to be some production rate increases, no question about it.
Oh, yeah. I mean, we got to give them more. So we got to ramp up production, right? It is insane to me that this is happening, a war that we have no business in. We have no business in a territorial dispute between Russia and Ukraine. We never did. But Russia's the boogeyman, and we can get our defense contracts up, so why not, right? Insane. And then a guy who many people perceive as one of the front runners for the Republican nominee, Tucker asks him, how do we end this conflict?
So in the spring, you described the war in Ukraine as a, quote, territorial dispute. You issued a statement saying it was a territorial dispute that was not central to America's national interest. There was an outcry over this, and then pretty soon after you seemed to change your view and describe Putin as a war criminal and say that it was central to America's foreign policy. Why did you change, and where are you now?
So the last part I did not say. I served in Iraq during the Iraq campaign in Fallujah. I was attached to U.S. Navy SEAL Team 1. And remember, it started on what WMD. Then we had al-Qaeda in Iraq. Then it was create a democracy. Then it was that. And so the lesson that I learned from there is if you're going to commit to do military, whether it's aid or whether it's troops, you need to have a concrete idea of what you're trying to achieve. And so from the time I got out of the sandbox and landed back in the United States 15 years ago until the present, I've always felt that. And so my critique of the D.C. foreign policy elite is that they are doing a blank check policy without telling us when we will have achieved our objective. And I believe that today, and I believe that then. Now.
But what is your plan, Mr. DeSantis? That's what people want to know if you're going to be the president.
Because you dissent from the D.C. foreign policy elite, they then try to smear you and say, oh, you must be for Putin. I've always thought Putin's a bad guy. I still think he's a bad guy. But that's a separate question for a leader who's got to look at the world in very clear-eyed glasses.
So what would you do?
You know that it's not all peaches and cream out there.
It's not.
And you have to make a judgment about what's in America's national interest.
Is it in America's national interest to be running out of artillery and sending billions of dollars when we're trillions in debt to a country zillions of miles away to force a conflict that could turn into World War III? Does anybody in Middle Tennessee feel like escalating this into a nuclear conflict is a good idea? Because if we send American troops in there, like, what's next? Like, we're past World War II level warfare. There's not going to be any dogfights in the air anymore.
And so that's the position that I believe. And I also believe that I wish the D.C. elites cared as much about our border as they do about the Ukraine-Russia border. Because there's people pouring into this country. We have people dying from fentanyl overdose.
And that's a fair point. We have people dying from fentanyl overdoses, and yet we still send billions of dollars to Ukraine. But Mr. DeSantis, you were asked about the Ukrainian border and the crisis with Russia.
I wish the D.C. elites cared as much about our border as they do about the Ukraine-Russia border. Because there's people pouring into this country. We have people dying from fentanyl overdose.
Again, you know, he's not wrong. But that wasn't the question.
They will not define it. And
What do you think it should be?
I think the goal should be to have a sustainable peace in Europe. Okay, we don't want there to be war breaking out. There have been a lot of people that have been killed, displaced. It's a horrible thing. But you have to provide a articulation of where you're going to go to get there. And my fear is right now is they're basically doing an open-ended conflict. This is going to be a multi-year quagmire. There's going to be a lot of people that are going to die, and there's not going to be much facts change on the ground. And the dispute at this point, or the war at this point, is not whether Ukraine's government is going to fall. They're fighting over territory on the far eastern part of the country between Russia and Ukraine, and that's kind of where this is at. So the question is, okay, how do you get that to where we can stop this? And also, from our national interest, this is humiliating for our country that we're running out of ammunition.
It is humiliating for our country that we're running out of ammunition. The entire conflict is actually pretty humiliating. The number to text in, 615-737-9986. You can also join the conversation via phone call if you're old school. Super texter Brian says, all of these politicians on both sides, warmongers, all, cha-ching. 1585 said, what religious beefs have priests in Ukraine been arrested for? Well, the priests in Ukraine were arrested for speaking out against the conflict with Russia. They were Orthodox. 615-737-9986. More text from you next. And after 11 o'clock, why you shouldn't take your kids to see Barbie in theaters. It's Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand.
It's 11 o'clock on the dot this Monday morning. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Got some poor air quality out there thanks to those Canada wildfires and the smoke that's drifting south. And there is a risk of severe storms. Full forecast in 2 minutes. The death toll stands at 5 due to massive flooding in Pennsylvania. Crews still looking for others swept away just outside of Philadelphia.
The search will continue for the 2 children who are still missing. We have search teams that are assisting us from Delaware, Chester, parts of Bucks County, New Jersey. We also have deployed K-9 units, underwater assets, air assets.
Yeah, just across the border in New Jersey, a state of emergency declared due to landslides in Warren County. Here in Nashville, a 21-year-old man is in custody for statutory rape after police say he was caught having sex with a 13-year-old girl at the teen's grandfather's home in Antioch. Channel 4 says Jose Delgado Campos allegedly pulled a gun on the teen's grandfather, but the gun was wrestled away. Campos was held at gunpoint until officers arrived. Police say Campos and the girl started having sex in June after they connected on Instagram. And we're more than 1 year since the implementation of the 988 Suicide and Crisis Lifeline. Jim Ryan says the numbers point to a successful launch.
The 3-digit hotline replaced the 10-digit service that had been up for about 2 decades. And while many people do still reach out by phone,
988 Lifeline.
Thousands of contacts have come by chat or text message. And while it's called the 988 Suicide and Crisis Lifeline,
You don't have to be suicidal to call.
Katie Stoll is director of the Long Island Crisis Center, one of 200 nationwide.
We want people to know that we are a resource that is available to them.
People in crisis have contacted 988 5 million times in the past year.
If you or a loved one is struggling with a mental health crisis or considering suicide, just call or text 988. That's the latest news. Weather is next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
Super Talk 99.7 WTN, 11:05, 85 degrees out. a crazy, crazy Canadian haze over our skies from those wildfires. It's kind of spooky. I don't like it. You know what else I don't like? I don't like the trans agenda being forced into our kids' films. Is that too much to ask? So I kind of had an issue with this Barbie movie coming out before I knew that they were forcing trans actors, actresses, whatever you want to say, whatever they want to be called, into the film. And it was because I thought that, Barbie is for young girls, little girls. And I thought that some of the outfits Margot Robbie was wearing were a little bit too risque. I mean, maybe I'm old school. I try to be. I don't want to be some progressive dad, but I certainly wasn't on board with the movie when I saw the outfits that Margot Robbie was wearing. It wasn't something I was going to let my daughter watch in the first place. But after seeing that there's trans actors in the movie, now I'm even more all out. A couple weeks ago or last week, there was a trend online. Mac, you might have remembered this trend where everybody was saying Margot Robbie is mid.
Oh, yes.
So just to explain, they were saying mid is like slang for, average looking, which that's crazy talk, right? And when
yes.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, she's gorgeous.
She's beautiful.
Yeah, absolutely. But so when this trend is going on online, I'm thinking to myself, like, why is this trending? It feels forced. What are they covering up? So I started Googling the movie and really digging in. And it turns out that they are covering up the fact that there's trans actors in the movie. From Fox News, the upcoming Barbie film ignores its key demographic in favor of catering to a small percentage of the population, a faith-based film review site claimed. Warning, do not take your daughter to Barbie. Movie Guide, a Christian movie review site, warned. I think that if you're a parent, bookmark Movie Guide because it's solid. So this Christian movie site, Movie Guide, warned ahead of the film's July 21st release. The review criticized the film about the iconic doll of abandoning its core audience of families and little girls to instead focus on LGBTQ stories. The new Barbie movie forgets its core audience of families and children while catering to nostalgic adults and pushing lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender character stories. Furthermore, the movie was poorly made with multiple premises, losing even the most diehard fans, the scathing staff reviewed pen piece began. They had a built-in market and audience for this franchise that they completely ignored. The story continued. Millions of families would have turned out to theaters and purchased tickets, but instead, Mattel chose to cater to a small percentage of the population who has proven over and over to abandon the box office. Huh. How do the companies keep doing this? Now, I'll give Barbie a little bit of a pass because the movie was written, filmed, cast before the Bud Light controversy. Speaking of which, did you hear that Bud Light is no longer going to be carried at Costco? It got the Star of Death on the tag, which means that they won't be restocking.
Wow.
Which is a huge win for conservatives. It shows our boycott power. It shows what I tell my kids every day. You can vote every single day with your wallet, okay? And I also want to remind people about the Bud Light thing. People weren't really upset because of, we were upset that Dylan Mulvaney's on this can and that they made this transgender influencer but we were really upset that it happened the day after the Covenant school shooting. That's where a lot of the anger began. But back to Barbie. Don't take your daughters to see it. Don't take your kids to see it. It's over-sexualized and forced with an ideology that doesn't represent you. It's not for your family. Believe me. Please. boycott the movies altogether. Unless you're going to see a movie like Sound of Freedom, I don't think you have any business supporting Hollywood these days. They have proven themselves to be anti-family, pro-woke every chance they get. That's not something I want to support. I don't want to support the Disney Corporation. And Disney does it left and right. The X Games are going on right now. I grew up loving the X Games.
Same.
Dude, Tony Hawk was so awesome.
Oh, he was the best.
Throwing a 900 on a half pipe.
So sick.
But do you know what's happening now at the X Games?
No, I have no idea.
So one of their main hosts his name is Jason Ellis. And you're not going to believe this. He, on his Twitter account, constantly posts. First of all, he's an adult film star of the transgender variety. And that's all he posts on his Twitter account. So while kids are watching this guy standing next to Tony Hawk, right?
Wow.
You're going to think he's cool and he's a skater and he does, like he's all tattooed. You think he's cool. If your son or daughter goes to his Twitter account, they're going to be subjected. And I don't think anybody should go to his Twitter account because it's vile. It's awful. It's things that you can't unsee. Ugh. Right at the top. It's not like it's even like you don't have to search for it. I'll tell you that much.
You just go on this guy's page and it's there.
Right.
Wow.
There. And he's
in front of the X Games. I mean,
he's one of the faces of the X Games this year, which are going on right now. Like, if you're not paying attention as a parent, dude, this stuff is like everywhere. It's pervasive. You can't get away from it. I'm at a point where I just want to throw out my TVs. I don't let my kids watch much TV anyway. And I remember when I was a kid, how much I loved the discovery process of just flipping through the channels. And you can't do that anymore. I will give you a suggestion, though. It's not an advertisement, but it's something that I use in my household, is the Yippee app. It's like Netflix for Christian families. So it's all kids shows. You got Bible stories. It's all Christian influence. It's awesome because the kids can flip through and choose what they want. 3, 2, 1 Penguins. I love it. I love it. But you have to be vigilant if you're a mom or a dad these days, because as soon as you let your guard down, they're sneaking this stuff in. Everywhere. I mean, the Barbie movie, they had a built-in audience. It was something that moms and daughters could have shared together. I know in Middle Tennessee, there must be thousands of moms who have a Barbie collection that they're passing down to their daughter and probably were looking forward to this movie. Well, it's over-sexualized and there's trans influences. Once you expose your kids to that kind of content, there's no putting the genie back in the bottle. It's awful. So I warn against it. I really, really do. Because this stuff, it's irreversible if your kids go down this trans roadway. There's a surgeon in Portland who does these gender surgeries, and he's revealing lifelong complications that can come with these surgeries. Gee, you think? This is a quote. This is a quote from this surgeon that does these surgeries. Those of us that do a fairly high volume of general gender affirming surgery. I hate the word gender affirming. The devil is in the details, and it's in the language that the left uses. It's not gender affirming. It's genital mutilation. But this is what he says. Those of us that do a fairly high volume of general gender-affirming surgery, we've maybe done a handful of puberty-suppressed adolescents as a field, and no one's published on it yet. So kids that have been on puberty blockers then get the surgery. OHSU is just putting out our first series together as we're kind of learning and figuring out what works. But it's really changing things because you don't have enough tissue to line the vaginal canal. So you either have to take a skin graft or take skin from elsewhere or use an artificial product. The way that we're dealing with it is by using a robot. We're basically performing intra-abdominal components of surgery. This is horrific. It's horrific what they're doing to kids. And they're trying to slow walk your kids down that way. You have to stay on top of this if you're a parent. Because the minute you're not paying attention, boom, it's in the Barbie movie. Boom, it's on the X Games. Rocco's Modern Life came back out. They re-released it on Netflix. And they added a new season. So it's like a 90s kids show. And you think it's totally safe, right? Because you watched it when you were a kid. So it comes on, you watch a few episodes with your kids, and you think it's safe because you watched it as a kid, and then, you kind of walk away. You go cook dinner or something, and then they add a new season a couple weeks after that. And in the new season, one of the characters becomes transgender. It's so sneaky and so evil. You got to protect your kids, and it starts by being vigilant at home. Because as we discussed earlier in the day with the Moms for Liberty story, they'll attack you for calling this stuff out. If you say you don't want these kind of books in your schools or this entertainment on your TV, you are the one that's called a bigot. You're the one that's an extremist. Because it's gender-affirming care. How could you not care for the kids?
So some of that stuff as a parent could be kind of easy. Movies, you're always going to look at a movie. You're going to read reviews. You're going to look into stuff. It's Hollywood. You're going to be a little skeptical. It's Barbie. Maybe you wouldn't think it, but you're still going to look into it. But like Chris, you mentioned that TV show. That just, what are you doing as a parent? You personally, are you watching that season before? The Jason Ellis thing with the X Games. Are you just, let's look into Jason? How do you stumble upon this and make sure that your kid isn't going in anything you don't want him to see or her to see?
Unfortunately, it's so with my kids, I have a hard rule. If it's not before 92, if it wasn't made before 1992, it's a hard pass until it's been screened.
Gotcha.
Just a hard pass. 615-737-9986 is the number to text, the super text line. 4549 says, no more X Games. Barbie was a never gonna be for me. Didn't go see Indiana Jones. The last time I went to the theater was Top Gun Maverick. Gonna go see Sound of Freedom, though. I actually met Tim Ballard over the weekend at ActCon in West Palm Beach with Turning Point, and he's a great guy. The work that they're doing on Sound of Freedom and what they're doing is truly amazing, and the child trafficking stuff is so dark and so awful, but it's something that you have to shine a light on, because it's one of those uncomfortable conversations that if we don't have the conversation, it's just not going to be discussed. Nobody's going to know about it. 4911 texted in and said, we love Yippee and Pureflix. I love Yippee and Pureflix as well. So I think that you can find these avenues for your kids so that way they can still have the freedom of finding and that discovery aspect that we all loved as kids, the flipping the channels, the checking of just discovery, finding your own things that you like. I think that's so important as a kid, but you have to be careful. You have to be vigilant. Matt texted in. He said, even with Top Gun, your money is going to the Church of Scientology. Fair enough, Matt. Fair enough. 615-737-9986 is the number to text in and call. What do you let your kids watch? What do you not let them watch? I want to hear from you. 615-737-9986 is the number to call, the number to text. This is a conversation that we have to have with other parents. We have to be, a united front. I always tell, I have big conversations with my kids' friends' parents about no cell phones. What are they watching? What are they doing when they're over there? If we're not having the conversation, you're asleep at the wheel. So have the conversation, as uncomfortable as it may be. And if your kids are using phones, your kids are on iPads, then they're going to be exposed to awful things at a very young age. So do your best. Don't fall asleep at the wheel. We get one chance with them while they're young, okay? I'm going to be here for you. I'm going to search this stuff out as much as I can, and when I find it, I'm going to let you know, because that's what friends do, you know? Friends don't let friends watch woke trash. It's 11:20 on Super Talk and 99.7 WTN. I'm Chris Hand. Thank you for being here.
Medical crews dispatched to Nissan, and Music City artists plan to rally in support of the actors and writers strike today downtown. We'll tell you about it at 11:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you, Mr. Weaver. That's Ken, everybody. He's the best newsman in the business. My name is Chris Hand. This is Super Talk 99.7 WTN. It is 11:25. The temperature, check the little thermometer thing in your car, all right? I'm not going to do everything for you. You're grown up.
Yeah, it's right there in front of your face.
I got a text from 4165. He said, hey, guys, my thought is that movies need to put in an LGBTQ rating. They put it in for smoking, nudity, foul language, so why not add that in? I think that is a great idea, 4165. Texts are coming in quick and fast. Somebody said that they thought I was Canadian.
Eh?
What?
What?
They said it's the way I pronounce out and about. Do I sound Canadian, guys?
You know, when you were filling in, I did remember someone saying when you said oot, but you don't say it like that. You just say, it's a little less outy.
I like poutine.
That's some good stuff right there.
Gravy fries with a little cheese curd on there, but that's about as Canadian as I get.
That's
I promise.
Canadian?
Yeah, man.
Wow.
My buddy actually lives in Canada. His wife's a wedding photographer, and they had a poutine bar at their at a wedding. Like a buffet for poutine.
Oh, that's awesome.
Oh, 0583 just said, give us the temperature. Not all of us have a fancy car with a digital screen. All right.
Even my 2010 Corolla has a temperature gauge.
All right. 0583, it's 87 degrees. I did that especially for you. 615-737-9986 is the number to text. Now, I would be remiss if we didn't talk about cocaine in the White House. You know, I feel like that's a rite of passage at WTN, and you know, I'm still new here, so I want to let you guys know what John Kirby is saying the latest is on the cocaine gate.
Certainly you can understand that Americans, many of them, first of all, are aghast that there was ever cocaine in the White House. We heard that there were reports of marijuana a couple of times found there last year as well. But more importantly, that it's case closed. In less than 2 weeks, we know nothing about who brought this in, inability to track people, no surveillance cameras. What if it was something much more dangerous?
Well, again, I can't really speak to the investigation that was done by the Secret Service. They did the best they could to track down how it got there and who it might have belonged to, and they were not able to come up with any forensic evidence that proves it. But of course, look, we take this seriously. That's not the kind of thing we want to see happen. Now, it did happen in a visitor's lobby area, just outside the main West Wing. So it was a highly trafficked area. We're going to take a look at how that happened, and obviously, if there's things we can do to prevent that in the future, certainly we'll do that. Nobody's happy about this.
Hey, he's a little jittery. Might have been John Kirby's cocaine. Is that just me? I don't know. Could have been anybody's. I don't know whose it is. So you say it was mine? You got a question? What's your question?
What's your problem? Is it me?
Trump over the weekend in West Palm Beach at ActCon 2023 with Turning Point had this to say about the cocaine in the White House.
And despite having done nothing wrong, the White House just announced they've dropped the investigation into the West Wing cocaine scandal of just a few days. Think of it. They have cocaine going into the White House. They've got more cameras than any building probably in the world. It's opposite the Situation Room. I said it the other day, first time, Situation Room, know it very well. Probably the most important room anywhere in the world. That's where war is decided, where nuclear is decided, where everything is decided. They say, oh, gee, we didn't have any cameras. Like hell they didn't.
No, they have cameras. They know whose it was. But it probably wasn't Janet Yellen's. She prefers the magic mushrooms. This White House is so wonky, you guys. But you know what? At least it's funny. It's 11:29 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand. For everybody that's asking, the temperature is 87 degrees outside. Everybody's got cool old school cars in Middle Tennessee. And the news starts now.
11:30 on the dot this Monday morning. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Air quality is poor, and we are under risk of severe weather. Full forecast in 2 minutes. Right now in Rutherford County, News 2 reports medical crews were dispatched to the Nissan complex in Smyrna this morning. Nissan's corporate office releasing a statement that one supplier partner employee was hurt in a work-related incident, taken to a local hospital. No word on how that employee was injured. Deadly weather in the Northeast Pennsylvania has seen 5 fatalities from massive floods, and the search is on for 2 children swept away near Philly. Across the state line in New Jersey, Kelly Canfield's home is under 8 feet of mud.
We lost vehicles. The basement's flooded. Now the second story is starting to, the rug is starting to get wet.
State of emergency in New Jersey due to landslides. And entertainment news, News 2 says artists in Music City plan to rally today in support of the writers and actors strike. The Central Labor Council for Nashville and Middle Tennessee says it is scheduled to happen at 4 o'clock outside SAG-AFTRA's office right here on Music Row. That's the latest news. Weather's next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
Hey folks, I'm Paul Winkler. One of the biggest decisions people have to make in retirement is how to take Social Security. You'll get all kinds of workshops about that, and you'll see all kinds of things about that particular topic. Because Social Security, for some people, it might be a third or even more of their income in retirement. So you want to get this decision right. Well, how do you make the decision? Well, one of the things we look at, there are programs we use. This is one of the simpler programs that we use right here. And I want to just show you how it works and how it actually unravels some of the misconceptions we have about Social Security. So we have 2 people here, they're age 60, and they're looking at filing for Social Security. One person has a retirement benefit of $2,500. That is their main benefit from Social Security at their full retirement age. The other one has a $500 benefit. And what we can do here, which is kind of cool, is look at this and say, okay, well, what if we have this person has that life expectancy and that person has that life expectancy there? And then what we do is we assume a certain cost of living increase in Social Security. What would be the optimal for taking the benefit where they get the most benefit or the most bang from their buck? And where we see the star, that shows that we would have the best benefit. Now, this is one person filing at age 67, the other person at age 70. Well, a lot of people think, well, I retire, I have to take Social Security at the same time that I retire, and that's not necessarily the case. As you can see here, one may take it at one age and one may take it at another, even though they're the same age right now. Now, the other thing we can do is say, well, what if I took it early? What if I took it at this particular age right here, where one person's 65 and the other one's 65? You can actually see how much it could cost in benefits. When we do this, we can see how much it might cost us and how much it might affect us negatively to do that. Now, the other thing we can do is we can play around the life expectancies, and we say, well, if this person lives to that age, now the cost is $187,000 in this particular example, taking it at that age right there. So you can see, based on your own life expectancy, and typically people will say, well, what did my parents live to, and come up with that type of data. So this is just part of the financial planning process that we use at Paul Winkler Inc. If you want to know more about what we do, you can get a free 15-minute phone call at our website, paulwinkler.com. We do financial planning, full financial planning. We do investing, education, and investing. We actually help people through those decisions, helping them set up their 401ks and those types of decisions, as well as risk management. But we don't get paid on commission. That's what makes us so different from other firms out there that do what we do. So if you want to find out more, go to paulwinkler.com.
Super Talk 99.7 WTN. What's up? It's Chris Hand. How are you doing? I am having a fantastic time. And we are going to have a fantastic time together. July 26th, my birthday. You don't have to bring me a gift. Please don't. But join me, Dan Mandis, Matt Murphy, Brian Wilson, and Pamela Furr for an evening with WTN at J Street Korean Grill and Bar in Hendersonville, Tennessee. Obviously, Tennessee. Why did they even put that? Gave me the
Guys,
info.
we're going to Illinois.
I said, give me some info on the event. I want to talk about it. And he put Tennessee on there. Like, damn it. I feel like Ron Burgundy. It's like, you know he's going to read anything that's on that sheet. All right, so July 26th, J Street Korean Grill and Bar, Hendersonville, starting at 6 p.m. Enjoy all-you-can-eat dining experience offering a wide variety of fresh, high-quality meats, premium vegetables that customers can grill at their tables as we broadcast live. Grab your tickets. It includes a beverage of your choice. So come break bread with us as we talk politics, talk shop, and more. July 26th. Go to 997WTN.com to get your tickets today. If I said any of that too fast, find me on Twitter or Instagram, and I will give you the information personally.
Well, you skipped over what gift you wanted people to bring you for your birthday.
I said, don't bring me a gift.
I know,
back.
but
I don't know. I'll take cash. All right. Let me just be easy.
just bring me
bring cash.
Happy early birthday, though, man. That's awesome. That'll be great.
Well, when all this stuff was going down, I said to Dan, I said, did you plan that on my birthday on purpose? He's like, Chris, I don't know your birthday.
I don't know.
I don't know your birthday. That's fair. So over the weekend, ActCon was going on in West Palm Beach, and Donald Trump Jr. was there, and he just cracked me up when he was on the stage because he said kind of what we were all thinking about Cocaine Gate.
Do you know what my father would have done to me if it was my laptop? Yeah, my dad would have sent me to Gitmo. You're right. I think Hunter could have used some of that tough love from Joe, but it seems Joe only loves sniffing children and maybe Hunter's sister.
Oh. And sniffing runs in the family, with Hunter. I mean, how many rehabs has that guy been kicked out of? 13? One rehab is too many. Here's what Tucker ended his speech with. It was so funny when he did this. This is at the end of Tucker's speech over the weekend, talking about Cocaine Gate.
What'd you say? I don't know what, you know what? The thing about that story, it's just a mystery to me. No one was more shocked than I was. Are you serious? In the Biden White House, somebody left an 8-ball of cocaine in a public. I said to my wife, it's just not in character. I just don't believe it. It's clearly a setup. I went right back to Marion Barry and I was like, somebody set you up. I'm serious. It was, you know what I mean? It was like, I'll stop with it. That was my favorite story of all time. Because it just explains all the behavior. It really does. I worked in the media business for my whole life, so I know what the behavior looks like.
Starts rubbing his nose.
But it's like crazed and grandiose. I've got a plan. You're not going to believe it. It's unbelievable. It's going to totally work. What we're going to do is we're going to totally rearrange everything, okay? We've been doing things a certain way for a long time, okay? And it's worked, but I've got a better plan.
Tucker's speech, if you have not seen it from ActCon 2023, you got to go check out his Twitter because there was nothing that he didn't cover. It was amazing. Here he was talking about January 6th.
I will say, in Republican primary voters' defense, they were mad at the Congress. They went to the Congress. They didn't loot any liquor stores. They just went right to the source. That's true.
Where's the lie? Where's the lie? He even touched on COVID during his speech at ActCon 2023.
During COVID, there were people who couldn't kind of play along. We knew what the rules were. And every organization in American life, every large group of people in American life, from your government to the entire media, in some cases your church, we're all telling you the same thing. Here are the rules. If you are a good person, you will follow these rules. You will mask, you will separate, you will stay at home, you'll take our shot. No, we have no idea what's in it. We don't know its long-term effects, but shut up. This is a moral test. And if you want to pass, you will obey. And there will be people who decide to opt out, but they are, and everyone agreed on this, moral criminals. They're outlaws.
You're starting to see why he probably got fired from Fox, right? He's just a beast. He's an absolute beast.
And it's, well, I mean, given there's a certain sort of outlaw who's proud of it. They're sitting over there. They're standing right here. I mean, there are always some people. There are always some people who are going to be or gifted with whatever that weird gene is. It's like 8% of the population who are proud to like stand apart and be like, no. But most people, including most good people and most sensible people, don't want to be in that 8%.
I was an 8%er.
You know what I mean? They just don't. They don't want to be cast out of the tribe, actually. I don't know what you said, but I agree with you. I'm the only speaker who likes being shouted at. Anyway, but that's it. But the problem is nobody pushed back on the fundamental terms. Like, wait a second. You know, is there evidence for this? Do you know this to be true? Don't Americans have an inherent, which is to say a right they were born with, an inherent right to make their own decisions about how they live on the most basic level, what medicine they put in their body, where they travel? Nobody said that.
Where's the lie? Where's the lie? Tucker just attacked every mainstream talking point during his speech over the weekend. I mean, he went right down the list. It was awesome. If you haven't seen it, go to his Twitter, @TuckerCarlson. The whole thing is there. Because he literally covered everything. Everything. Anything that you haven't heard from him that you've been waiting to hear from him, he covered in that speech over the weekend.
No. But if I could make some general observations, which I think are more edifying than just like savaging Mike Pence, I think, which I'm not going to do, because that would be wrong. And it would be wrong because it's too easy. And the easy things are not rewarding, are they? You don't feel good when you beat your 5-year-old in soccer or ping pong. Like what? No.
And if you missed him savaging Mike Pence, this is what he was talking about right here.
Along the way, the Biden administration has been slow in providing military support. Make no mistake about this. We promised them 33 Abrams tanks in January. I heard again 2 weeks ago in Ukraine, they still don't have them. We've been telling them we'll train their F-16 pilots, but now they're saying maybe January we'll let somebody transfer some jets.
I'm sorry, Mr. Vice President, have you, I know you're running for president. You are distressed that the Ukrainians don't have enough American tanks. Every city in the United States has become much worse.
He's right. Every city has gotten worse since the Biden administration has taken over. He had a long thing in his speech about graffiti being in every city. And it's so funny because when I went to Richmond a few weeks ago with my kids, my wife and I were driving around kind of showing them the places where we had lived, because we lived in Richmond for a few years. That's actually where my wife and I met. And one of the things that they noticed was the spray paint everywhere. Everywhere. And they're like, are we in a good neighborhood? These are little kids. This is a 9-year-old and a 6-year-old. They're like, is this safe? Is it safe to be in this neighborhood? Because it doesn't feel safe. He said, if you start to see graffiti everywhere, you're one step away from societal collapse because it's like, we don't care how things look. Things don't have to be beautiful anymore. Like, if you're not taking pride in what you have around you, what else do you have? So when he tells Mike Pence that every city in America has gotten worse over the last 3 years, where's the lie? It's true. Think about the cities near us. Think about downtown Nashville, the public library. Like, literally, off of Broadway, the public library. You can't go in there without finding, the homeless bathing in the first floor bathroom. Literally bathing. I love that library. It's so cool. It's like beautiful. It's beautiful inside. But I won't take my kids there anymore because it's filthy. You can't walk in without being harassed. And that's happened to every major American city, not just Nashville. And why? Well, because the people in power don't care.
Every city in the United States has become much worse over the past 3 years.
Yeah.
Drive around. There's not one city that's gotten better in the United States. And it's visible. Our economy has degraded. The suicide rate has jumped. Public filth and disorder and crime have exponentially increased. And yet, your concern is that the Ukrainians, a country most people can't find on a map, who've received tens of billions of U.S. tax dollars, don't have enough tanks. I think it's a fair question to ask, where's the concern for the United States in that?
Well, it's not my concern.
It's not his concern.
Tucker, I've heard that routine from you before, but that's not my concern.
And that's the elite on the left and the right. It's not their concern. Neocons like Mike Pence don't care about you and I. They never have. They're not going to start now. And it's time that we kind of force them to care. It's time for all of us to get vocal about where we want our tax dollars being spent. It's not in Ukraine, I can assure you of that. There was a straw poll over the weekend. 95% of those in attendance where the conservative movement converged in West Palm Beach don't want involvement in Ukraine. We're trillions of dollars in debt. And we're sending billions upon billions to Ukraine. On what planet are we living? It's not getting any better, and I'm afraid that it's going to get worse before it gets better. It's time to end the endless wars. It's time to end the wasteful spending. And it's time to get the country back, and we all really need to powwow and figure out how we're going to do this. And I really want to hear from you and what your ideas are, because it starts at home. You know what I mean? It's like a pebble in the water. It ripples out. I say that to my kids all the time. So I hope that you join us on July 26th at J Street Korean Bar and Grill, Hendersonville, 6 p.m. All you can eat dining. We're going to talk shop. We're going to talk politics. We're going to talk solutions, because that's what we need to talk about. Like the issues, we all know the issues. We need to brainstorm some solutions, and we want to do that with you. July 26th, J Street, Korean Bar and Grill, Hendersonville, 6 p.m. You can get your tickets right now at 997WTN.com. And make sure that you find me on social media, Twitter, Instagram. I'm at Chris Hand on air. It is 11:50 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. 11:56 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. I am joined by my very, very handsome counterpart, Matt Murphy.
Who? Hello, Chris and
Mount up.
All right, how was the first day, baby? Yeah!
It feels good.
Yeah!
Come on. It feels good to feel good, Matt. I had a lot of fun.
I would like for everyone to know that maybe you missed Chris as he filled in the times that he filled in on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. He's normally more energetic than this. Now, not that you not bring the funk, but you have downplayed what you went through to get here today.
Oh, my gosh.
I mean, I know you talked about it, but
I talked about it on Dan's show. I didn't really bring it up on mine.
Man, oh, man.
So I was delayed for like 8 hours in Florida yesterday. I had 5 hours of sleep the night before. Delayed for 8 hours in Florida. Then I finally got to Atlanta, and I was delayed for like 3 hours. And I'm like sitting there writing a script. All of a sudden I look up, and nobody's there. I was like, what happened?
What happened to everybody?
I thought everybody got on the plane. So I start freaking out. I run. They said, flight's canceled. I was like, what? So then I ran down to go get a rental car, which I had already been texting my wife about while I was in Florida, being like, I'm going to need a rental from Atlanta. There's just no way. Didn't book one because I was going to make the connector.
Right.
Remember when I texted you that? You said, do you need anything for tomorrow?
Yeah,
I said,
anything for me?
I said, I just need help making my connecting
And
flight.
then I said, okay, I'm going to bed. I can't help it. I mean, I'm not driving to Nashville.
Well,
good luck.
So then I ran down to get a rental car. I waited in line for like 2 hours. All the cars are gone.
All the cars are gone?
Wow.
All of them.
At Hartsfield International Airport?
Even people's personal cars were no longer there.
People were busted into cars.
Atlanta is a dangerous place. So, yeah, people are stealing cars. And then I had to call an Uber from Atlanta.
Oh, I heard you talking about the side hustle on the Uber. That's
Dude,
pretty smart.
Luckily. And then this poor Bangladesh guy, he's like, please don't complain on Uber to me. Please don't complain.
Oh, man.
And then we're like an hour into the ride. He's like, he had told me that he was going to make $250 on the ride. And I was paying $275. I didn't believe it, but I was like, whatever. He's like, they were only going to pay me $140. he's like, but I feel bad lying to you. You're a good man. And I said, I'm still going to pay you.
Well, we love having you here, man. It has been a wonderful first day, and I hope everybody enjoyed it. And you know what? I'll see you tomorrow.
Yeah, this is exciting.
And that's nice every day.
We're basically like best friends.
Okay, sure.
I love being best friends with you. Thanks for having me. It's Super Talk 99.7 WTN.